Music for global change. Creating music that inspires the world. Welcome to the Music for Global Change broadcast. And now here's your hosts, founder and music ambassador Skyler Jett with Deborah, Fennella and Tom Bryant.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to start a revolution? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to start a revolution?
Greetings, namaste, welcome to the Music for Global Change broadcast. Hello, I'm Deborah Fennella here with music ambassador Skyler Jett and founder of Music for Global Change and co-presenter Tom Bryant. Now we're really honoured and excited to introduce today's celebrity music ambassador, also supporting Music for Global Change all the way across in America, I believe, Preston Glass. Good evening, Preston. How are you this evening? Actually, it might be daytime in America, is it?
Yeah, but I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me. Good to see you all.
Oh, you're welcome. Lovely to have you on the show today. Yeah. Now, you've worked with so many celebrities. I've been reading up quite a lot about you. And you've worked with Aretha Franklin, also Whitney Houston, Earth, Wind and Fire, Dinosaur Supremes. And I believe that you also wrote the song Who's Zooming Who? And obviously, we're doing the show on Zoom. So I think that would be a perfect theme tune for Zoom, Who's Zooming Who? So hopefully maybe Zoom may be watching our wonderful show. And I think Preston Glass is your next big thing for your new introduction to Zoom, Who's Zooming Who?
Your check is in the mail, Deborah. That was perfect.
Leave it with me, Preston. I shall pull a few strings and see what I can do.
All right. That'll be great. No, I've been very fortunate to, sometimes as musicians, Skyler knows this, you're just doing the work. Yeah. And then you look back maybe a few years later and you go, what? No wonder I'm so tired. While I was doing all that stuff, you mentioned all those artists, I was just working, it didn't hit me until I became older.
Oh, bless you. So what age did your path really sort of begin in the, singing and songwriting and the music industry, please? How did it first sort of come about and how old was you?
Well, that's a good question. And it's also one that might require a couple hours, but I'll give you the short version.
You're only guest today, so
you've got some time.
You've got plenty of time and we would love to hear it.
Well, I was born I was about 6 years old when I wrote my first song.
Wow, 6 years old.
And it wasn't just one song and then I wrote a song a few years later. I started writing songs, many songs at age 6. At that age, I had already collected a bunch of 45s, if you remember that.
Oh.
Albums of 45s. My parents bought me a little phonograph record player, and so I would always, after I got home from school, play my little 45s, and I would watch them spin around, and I would say, well, I wonder who that is in the parentheses. I know who the Four Tops are, I know who the Supremes are, I know who James Brown, I know Neil Diamond, but who's that name in the parentheses? I see Carole King, I see Holland Dozier Holland. I came to find out those were the songwriters.
Okay. And
my dad told me, I'll never forget, he said, and those are the people that make the money.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at a very early age, I started wanting to become a songwriter. And also because I wasn't the best singer, I figured, well, maybe I'll choose that path. And when I became a teenager, I started sending out my songs to publishers. And I did have the assistance of my older brothers to do that for me. So they would record me as I'm playing my guitar and my songs. And I started to get the attention of a few publishers when I was a teenager. When I was 16, I approached a company called Philadelphia International Records because I loved all their music. I love all their songwriters. In particular, I love the music of Tom Bell and Linda Creed, who wrote stuff for the Delphonics and the Stylistics and the Spinners. And so the person at Philadelphia International told me, well, Tom Bell is doing a seminar here in a couple of weeks, if you can come out here. And I was in Los Angeles at the time, so I saved up a little money and had the support of my family. So I flew 3,000 miles by myself.
That's a long way, isn't it?
At age 16, and I approached Tom Bell at this seminar. I was the youngest person there. I came from the furthest distance, so not that my songs were fantastic or anything, but I think he was so impressed by my perseverance. At such a young age, he said, look me up after high school. And I said, well, you know what? I'll move to Philadelphia and finish high school there. Well, he whispered in my ear, he said, guess what? Don't tell nobody, but I'm moving to the West Coast in about a year.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Stay out there and finish school.
Okay.
And sure enough, Tom Bell moved to Seattle, and he signed me and my brother Alan to a publishing deal at age 18. And fresh out of high school, we started writing immediately for people like Denise Williams and the Temptations, Phyllis Hyman.
Fans as well, aren't they, Preston? So, you know, being such a young age, you must have thought, I can't believe all my dreams are like coming true and meeting these fantastic celebrities. Do you believe, obviously, like in fate and synchronicity with regards to like wonderful opportunities as a child, obviously from the age of 6?
I tell you what, I believe in faith in action. A lot of people believe in like the things you mentioned, but you got to put action into along with that to make it come together. You know.
That's right.
And I've always
hard work and effort is effort, like you say, isn't it?
Yes. I was but I was too young to really maybe know. Wow, the celebrity. You know, I think I was just. I've always been a person that when you're thrown into a situation.
Yes.
Do the best you can. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it wasn't until later that I looked back and said, wow, that's you.
Oh, bless you. I'm so proud of you. You've done phenomenal work for all of these celebrities, and you also write social conscious music. So how many songs have you wrote all about bringing positive change to the world, please?
Ooh. I'd say early on, it was about a ratio of maybe 1/3 of my songs.
Yeah. Wow.
And now I'd say it's about half, if not a little over half of my songs are on that subject. Because as you get older, you start to become aware that that's what really matters and that's what's important.
It is, most definitely. And peace is the answer as well, Preston, isn't it? And out of all of those songs, have you got one particular favourite that, you know, you really enjoyed writing and it's, you know, very sort of personal to you, or, you know, a situation in life?
I don't know if I have one favorite, but one that comes to mind, I did a song with Johnny Mathis called One Wonderful Day.
Yeah.
And it talks about how, and actually I was fortunate to do an actual duet with Johnny Mathis, if you can believe that. But I became friends with Johnny, so I had sang the demo for him to do the song. Yeah. And there were certain parts that he said, well, you sound better than me. Why don't we just make it a duet? So
wow.
It was
cool. With social conscious music, I'd like to explain what we're up to. Now, I've been after this about 20 years, trying to put this thing together. The first social conscious song I wrote was 1984 with Rowan LaPrade, the bass player of the Commodores.
Yeah.
We gave away the money to every fourth child in Alabama that wanted to go to college, right? And it was the most beautiful thing to me. We wrote it with a doctor, and they played it simultaneously on every radio station in Alabama, right? And I was blown away, man, that when I was getting on the plane, I got on the plane and I got a standing ovation because people saw us on TV the night before, giving the money away to every fourth child in a family. And that kicked it off for me, right? And I mean, I say this all the time because I did study this 347 million love songs. And there's 71 million social conscious songs. But there's no, when I looked at it, there's no platform. So when I wanted to, I'm like, I want to go and perform. And then I'm like, there's no place to perform. And then I start telling people I'm doing, after I got out of Sly, I start telling people that I'm doing social conscious music now. I really didn't listen to the lyrics for a long time that Sly was writing.
Yeah.
And those were social conscious songs. I want to take you higher.
Yeah.
I'm everyday people, right?
Right.
Stand, right? And I'm watching that. Then I start watching Michael Jackson. But when I go out and speak to these young people, my hero was Marvin Gaye and John Lennon, you know what I mean? Bob Marley, Nina Simone, Curtis Mayfield.
Phenomenal.
And I was like, I'll let everybody else write the love songs. And I'm just going to continue to do this. But it wasn't until I moved over here that people got me. I remember telling somebody, I'm doing social conscious. Good luck with that, Sky. Hey, good luck with that. And when I looked on Google, I saw why, because I was looking for agents and promoters. And there's none. There was none, right? So if you got 71 million already writing this stuff and there's no platform, that's what Music for Global Change is about.
Well, you just sparked something in me, but you know, a lot of people talk about Marvin Gaye and what's going on. And you know what's interesting about that album? There are a couple things.
Yeah.
First of all, that's the only album he did in his whole career like that. Everything else was love, 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 sex, 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 love. He did What's Going On. Then he went right back to Let's Get On Sexual Healing. That was just a one time, but that was his most popular album. And in fact, that was Motown's most popular album, period. Yeah.
The album turned 50 2 months ago.
Isn't that something? And it's more relevant today. And What's Going On was not a question he was asking. A lot of people say, oh, Marvin Gaye was asking, what's going on? No, he was not asking. He was telling you. You know, in the lyric, it says, talk to me so you can see what's going on. He was telling you. And the reason he was telling you, and the reason he knew is not only his observances, but firsthand observances, but his brother came back from the Vietnam War. Frankie was telling him all the craziness of war and all the things that he had to deal with. And Marvin just was like, what? You're kidding me.
He's my hero.
Yeah.
He's my hero.
That was a very interesting album, I thought. But on that subject, you know, that's why I was so honored that you asked me to do this show, because I have a series of albums. It's called Love and Compassion, volumes 1, 2, and 3. I'm getting ready to do a 4th volume early next year. But each one of these albums, it's not love's romantic songs. It's love for humankind. Right.
Yes.
Love for the globe, love for the universe. And different kinds of approaches to each song, up-tempo, ballad, female, male, groups. But what's interesting, you said something about going over there in the UK. That's where I was able to find the platform for these Love and Compassion albums. Not here.
Okay.
It was
that's fantastic.
Record executive David Nathan decided to do a little joint venture label thing, and so he's been able to find distribution with Warner X, which is through Sweden. That's the Warner Music Group.
Yeah.
And so each of these albums is done real well, and I think it's really helped people to become aware of and more conscious of that stuff?
There's a famous film where Berry Gordy is talking about what happened. And he goes, you know, okay, Marvin, it's time to do this record, new record. And it was going to be another love song record, right? And Marvin said, no, I can't do that. He said, why? He said, because I got to tell people what's going on with this war. It's bothering me. That's where the title came from.
Right.
I got to tell people what's going on, right?
He was telling people what's going on. He wasn't asking this stuff.
No, he's a prophet. If you go listen to those lyrics, he's talking about right now. We talk about the environment. He say fish full of mercury.
Mm-hmm.
If you go listen to that record right now, you will hear what's going on right now. That dude was a prophet. And like I always say, check it out.
Brutality and all that stuff. Every song on that album has something interesting. You know, they have the popular songs, but even the obscure album cuts, they're really prophetic. You know?
You know what I love about that album the most? It never ends at the end of the song. He made it segues into the next song.
That was genius.
That was genius. That's and Stevie did that with a couple of his records too.
Guess what? Stevie, I won't say stole it, but borrowed that idea from Marvin. Marvin's supposed to do that, you know.
Hey guys, over in America, but there's a movie you guys need to see. You know, there's a band called the Funk Brothers, right? That was the band that played behind all. When I went to go see the Motown Review when I was about 10, 11 years old, and they had the Supremes, and the Supremes would do 5 songs, and then they go off, but the band never stopped. That's what we call segue. You segue to the next thing, right? And then the Four Tops would come on, and they do 4 or 5 songs, and then Stevie Wonder would come on. I mean, it was really brilliant what Berry Gordy did. Only thing is, he went out and he went to different nightclubs, right? And he said, I like that drummer over there. And he write his name. I like that bass player for this. And that's how he put the Funk Brothers together, right? Mm-hmm. But the dude was, in the movie, he's so cold-blooded, right? Because you got Motown in Detroit. But when he moved to LA, he just put a sign on the door. He had been paying the musicians for years, right? And he didn't even tell him he was going to move to LA.
He just up to left.
Yeah.
He just up to left.
He put a sign on the door. I moved to LA. So that last album, Marvin Gaye, that was the last album in Detroit.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The movie you're talking about is Standing in the Shadows of Motown, right?
That's exactly right.
Believe it or not, I just got a call a couple of weeks ago. You might have seen the name on labels. His name is Paul Reiser.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of him.
He arranged a lot of that, all those strings and stuff to, everything from The Grapevine to Ain't No Mountain High Enough. He's in his late 80s, but they're getting ready to do a documentary on Black arrangers. So the reason he was calling me, because Tom Bell, who's still around, was one of the greatest arrangers of all time. He's trying to reach Tom for this documentary, so I gave him his number. Mm-hmm. But he was telling me about the things you were just mentioning, that band that was put together, the room was like, maybe 10 by 10, 10 feet by, just small little, what do you call it? Basement.
Yeah.
In the bottom of a house there in Detroit. And that's why the song sounds so intimate, because everybody's playing in these tight little areas. But they're the best engineers and the best masters.
And see, I advocate about human music, right? And because man has outdone himself with computers and all stuff like that, one man could be an orchestrator himself. But even you came up playing a guitar and you said, well, I got strings here, I'm gonna play the strings, right? But it still doesn't sound like a string player, right? The same thing with saxophone. If you put a microphone up here, the bell of the saxophone, the air that goes through it, that's a different sound than you sampling it. You sample it, right? I mean, it's clean and all that, but it still doesn't sound like a human being.
No.
And so every human, you give a bass to it, the same notes, but if Larry Graham played it, sounds a different way.
Yeah.
if it's there, you know, it's the same. When people go to what's that thing up NAMM show, right? And everybody buying the same equipment, right? You never gonna sound like the human being. And see, all three of us, we were here before computers. If the bass player didn't show up, you didn't have bass.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that. With Larry Graham in particular, when the drummer didn't show up,
yes,
he ended up playing drums on his bass, and that's why he came up with the pop and park.
Yeah, and that's known all over the world, right? That particular technique.
Yeah.
If you're doing a funk band, can you play Brick House, or can you play some Slide Stone? You can't be in the band, man, right? And that's, you know, I just talked to Ron LePrez the other night from the Commodores. He want me to do a new band with him, right? And he say he studied Larry.
Yeah.
On them tunes, right?
I remember a story about the Ohio Players. Record company saw them performing somewhere, and they had a little history already with a smaller label, but Mercury Records, big label.
Yeah.
Said, we'll give you a $1 million deal. And so they didn't have any songs for that. They went in the studio and said, okay, what do we do now? And so they created all these songs, you know, Skin Tight, Jive Turkey.
Oh my God.
The first album didn't have any. They just created them on the spot.
Magic, right?
It is the human, the talent, the energy, the things that we feed off of each other. We grab from the sky, you know.
I mean, I can imagine as well, Skyler, because I mean, that's 50th anniversary this year of John Lennon's song Imagine. And, you know, when you go back to when he wrote that song and explained everything that's going on globally, even now.
Once again, the trippy thing is he was writing a lot of that stuff. The Vietnam War affected him as well, right? And he said, imagine peace. That's where that came from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine peace, right? And so people don't remember him for that, all them tunes he wrote on the Beatles, but and like I said, when people do social conscious music, even though it's not a platform for it turns out to be bigger, right?
Right.
You know,
well, like that's what I was talking about with Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
What's Going On is his signature song, but that's the only time he's ever done anything like that. He went right back, you know, who he didn't know he was going to die. Who knows if he was still here today, he might have just done 20 years of love songs. What's Going On would be still his hallmark album because it's talking about music that reaches everybody and talks about, you know, what's going on.
One of the most beautiful things that ever happened to me was I went to Rwanda and I headlined in Rwanda, man, and it was like the most like I told those people I'm not going to be doing any love songs, and all the groups coming on before me they doing love song, and I had the song I wrote called Nigeria with the biggest producer in Switzerland, Urs Weisendanger. He told me to tell you, big up Preston. I'm a big fan of his. He's like the biggest. I'm introduced to him, the biggest producer over there. So, but the thing about it, man. So, my buddy Joey Blake, who is a professor at Berklee College of Music, and he's been for the last 25 years. He's been the bass singer for Bobby McFerrin. So you know, he had been going over to Rwanda, and he said, "Scott, I want you to come over to Rwanda." And I went to go play, man. And I had the song called Nigeria. But then I took the Nigeria off and I put Rwanda, right? Just for them. Yeah. So I went over there and I did that song, man. And the press rushed me after I got off. First of all, Joey, God bless him, he took about 18 kids and he put a band together with all my songs. These college kids over in Rwanda, great players, right? Had 8 singers, and it was like it was so wonderful. But the beautiful thing about it, man, is, you know, when I got there, them kids that saw all the records I've been on today, like, man, we're singing. I'm singing with this American. It's like that, right? And I'm like, well, it's no big deal, with, you know. But after the show, the press rushed me, and they said, "Brother, did you write that for my country?"
Oh,
right?
bless him.
He said, we had these people come over there, their pants all hanging down and cuss this and hate women, all because they study the West. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And here you are over here doing songs that's going to help my country, man. God bless you for that. I got all these write-ups, and that showed me how powerful this was, right?
Right.
It just goes to show, just by writing one song, it can make such a huge difference in this world, you know, and it's down to the actual lyrics. When you look at like Michael Jackson, when he done the Earth song, you know, again, that he was a prophet. And had a profound effect on people that listen to that song. Black Eyed Peas, you know, Where Is the Love? There's many social conscious songs of what's actually coming, you know, in the future and what's taking place now within the world. And this is why I think it's even more important now as we go into the new earth and the positive change that are taking place and people sort of step, you know, into a more positive state of conscious being. That's where these songs are really making a difference in the world now to help people change their lives and to bring more peace and harmony within themselves, you know, within their families, within their communities, and also across the globe to bring this positive change, but also kindness and love and compassion as well to restore the peace and the balance.
A snowball effect, right, Skyler?
Oh, I know that song.
There's a song. There's a song that Skyler sang on. I did a solo album back in 2006. Song I wrote called "Snowball Effect," and Skyler was the lead singer.
Oh, really?
That song talks exactly about what you're saying. You plant a seed of positivity, of love. It could have a positive effect all over the world because it's a snowball. You know?
Yes. And that's
I've been knowing Brother Preston since the 80s, guys. You know, almost 40 years I've been knowing him, right? And it's so beautiful because I was at a camp where a lot of talented people were. But you got a question, Tom?
Yeah, Preston, you've worked with some phenomenal artists. Have you got any out and out favorite that you would love? Well, you've obviously worked with people that have since passed and people that are still around. Is there anyone you've worked with that you'd love to work with again? And also, when you write your music, do you have someone in mind, an artist in mind that you would then approach and say, look, I've written this, I've really got your voice and your style in my head? Is that the way you do it? Or is it just a case of you put the songs out there and they get given to artists differently? Or is it something that you have some control over, actually gifting a song to somebody?
Back in the day when I was doing my first part of my career, I would usually write a song for a specific artist, and ironically or always, it seemed like it would end up with someone else instead. Maybe for the better. But one thing I did learn by target writing, I call that target writing, that inspires me. Even if it's a fake situation, like I might imagine, okay, I'm gonna write a song for the Beatles. Of course, the Beatles are not together, but it then inspires me to, okay, I want to make this like this, make this like. Then it comes out, you know, a lot better than if there was no target. Then I can give it to whoever likes it. Just a great song. Nowadays, because I have a little bit of track record, I'm able to reach some of the artists that I target. Mm. And so, but to answer your first question, there's so many, but I'm going to mention George Benson as somebody that
he's amazing, isn't he?
I would like to work with again because I've been working with him again. I just did something with him. He's playing guitar on a new artist that I discovered, and he agreed to play solo as well as intro. He's a good friend of mine, and that came through just working on. Actually, Skyler working on the first project was with Nard, you know. Okay. Came to that camp, and then George and I became good friends, and I ended up after I got fired. I started producing George myself, and then we just become great friends, his family and our friends. So he's just a really good guy.
Yes, he's a sweetheart brother, man. I met him over here in Glasgow.
Great.
Jeff Edmonds, a dear friend of mine back home, his father was a guitar player, and you know, George really loved his father. You know, he loved his playing. He told me anyway. So we're in Glasgow, man. I am, you know, in England, and it was wonderful to have those seats. I'm sitting there and I'm watching all these Brits sing every lyric to every song.
About a song that the crowd knows every bit of. George knows how to take a song and make it his own. I remember being at a dinner a couple of weeks ago. The conversation came up about George, and they were talking about the song On Broadway.
Oh, wow.
And they were saying, that's such a beautiful song. I have an idea of how we could do a cover version of George's song. I said, do you know that, did you know that that song that George did is not George's song? Right. George did it as a cover, but they didn't know that. George took that song and made it his own. People think he's the original. It's kind of like Aretha with Respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was Otis Redding, but everybody thinks it's just Aretha.
Yeah, it's a trip like that because, you know, when you, well, can you imagine how many people have done You Are the Sunshine of My Life? Stevie Wonder, right?
Yes.
And content is king. You know, I tell the young people, you can jump on the stage, all that, you're never going to make as much money as the person that creates the content. And so I teach these kids how to write lyrical content, right? And pick stories. But now today, since I haven't been doing, the last song I did with Kenny G that was a love song, but I didn't say love in the song actually. But since then, with the slide thing and listening to those lyrics, that's conscious music. And it just came over me that this go in this direction. I know it's going to be really hard because there's nobody doing it, right? And all these young people to write lyrics that heal, educate, and solve problems, right? Don't talk about yourself.
Yeah, that's very good that you're doing that because it seems like the younger generation, they've grabbed onto this, what I call braggadocious. Yeah, I'm this, I got this.
Look what I'm wearing.
Yeah, all that. And that takes away from the spreading of you know, of love, of mutual admiration, you know, things that we could do together, ways that we could build together. You know, it's all about myself. That's not, God didn't want things to be like that. So I think you're working against God when you do that.
It's all about togetherness, though, I think, in unity. And, you know, we are all one at the end of the day. And the more humans begin to realize that, you know, we will work a lot more better in harmony and peace and love. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? One thing I would like to ask you, Preston, when you write your songs, do you start off with your hook? Or do you start off with your verse first, you know, in order for that song to sort of, you know, come to fruition? Now, I know some songwriters either start off with the hook. Skyler does, don't you, Skyler, like myself?
Yes. What's the subject? What's it about? Right?
Yeah.
And you go from there.
You know, I mentioned I've been doing this since I was a preteen, you know, and I kind of kept these good habits. I would always write titles, song titles. I'd write them down. You know, I could be sitting in a restaurant and you might say, oh, look at that green grass over there. I'll write down, you know, green grass, or grass is always something. And I would always file it away in my folders. So a company, what's the word I'm looking for? I had a pile of about 3,000 song titles.
Wow.
And
so that's a lot of song titles. How many songs have you written all together, Preston, all of the years that you've been writing songs yourself?
How many songs? Ooh,
yes, have you written all together?
Have you kept
thousands?
It has been thousands. Not that they've been, you know, not all good, you know, I'm sure not all good, but what songwriting is like eating to me, you know.
Yeah.
It's important. It really gives me life, you know.
Right.
It certainly does.
And
do you find that I find I can listen, say if it's, you know, some of my friends are composers and they come up with this tune and I can listen to a tune and in my head, all of these words are dancing around and all of a sudden this song seems to come when I listen to a tune. Do you find that same thing happens to yourself, for instance?
Yeah, exactly. I start with the title, then instead of writing the lyrics to the title, right after I get the title, I go to the piano or go to the guitar and start with get the melody going to that title and get all the melody tight, the rhythm tight, and then I'll write the lyrics to that title or theme and to that melody.
Okay.
It's easier to work that
thousands of ways to say something. There's thousands of words, you know, you can so many similarly, you know, but there's something about the melody. It's so important that if you have the right, not just the melody, but the rhythm or even the space in between the melody, that's so important. If you get that perfect melody and that perfect chord structure, then you can fit any number of words to it.
For a long time, I didn't write any music, right? I mean, I can hear everything. I can orchestrate and sing the parts that I want for each instrument. But when I lived in LA, you know, hey man, musicians, there'll be a lot of musicians that got tracks. And I say, you know, back then they had cassettes. I'm not trying to tell you how old I am, but anyway, but at the same time, musicians would give me tracks, but I would find that the musician didn't know how to write an arrangement of lyrical content.
Yes.
They might have one section that's really cool. Yes. And I might be just listening. And the trippy thing is they'll play me a bunch of stuff. They go, and if they don't see me get excited, they go, hey man, but check this other one out. You never got to the, hey man, I was just getting into that, right? But the thing about it is I would take all this music and I stopped listening to the radio. And, you know, I've been on over 2,500 songs. So I mean, demos and records and some successful, not whatever. But the tricky thing is, Preston is right. When you find the right, so I put the track on. Now, how I write lyrics is by the title, right? What's it about? And it's almost like he was talking about Target, right? And what's this going to be about? Now, I put the track on in the car, and I got me about 15 titles. I put it on the seat, right? And I start singing a melody that I like with that part. And man, this is all right. This is working. This is working. You know, singable. It's catchy. You know what I mean? Because the musicians don't buy music. We give it to each other, right? So you got to, you're writing for other people to accept what you do. But the tricky thing is, I'll start singing those titles with that melody, and if one catch on, that's my hook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I put those two components together. Now, you know, what's it about, and what's the subject, and all the stuff like that. Now, when I'm writing verse, now the most important part is connecting the end of the verse into the chorus. The most important part is connecting the end of the verse. See, I think of the verse as, this is my opinion of the hook.
Yes.
But you ain't gonna know that until I get to the hook, right? No. But it's always that last thing that you say to go into the hook. It's almost got to be like, I knew you was gonna say that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Right. So your verse, you know, you give your personal opinion, but the hook is where everybody sings, right? And you got to do that at least 3 to 4 times. Wow. 3 to 4 times in the song. Hurry up and get there too. Don't talk about. And you know, last week, no, don't go there. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having 2 hooks in a song. Like I had a song called "We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off."
Oh, I love that song.
Great song. That was
band, wasn't it?
Oh,
that one. I love that song.
I had thank you. The hook was one thing, but then the second hook was na 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 na.
Right. Catchy. Hey, you know, that's a social conscious song too.
Yeah, I love that song. And it just makes
That's funny you said that. Yeah, after I wrote it, which I wasn't thinking anything about teenagers for safe sex and all that, but I started getting a lot of calls and from newspapers and news programs. What made you write such a conscious thing for kids to have safe sex?
Wow.
And you know, at first I was like, in my mind, I'm like, well, the answer to that is I was just trying to write a hit song.
That's right.
But I started changing my answer, like, well, I was trying to be social.
I think I saw something about it was on the television. Didn't somebody just sing it on one of those?
Yeah, it was on The Voice. Well, what has happened is funny. It's in the UK. Ellie Ayer, I think that's how she pronounces her name. She did a version of that song back about 10 years ago, which kind of exploded. It was more of a ballad.
Right.
And so now that's the version that all these youngsters sing. And now check this out. This is the power of a melody.
Okay.
So I'm on Instagram, right? Checking my little Instagram stuff. I don't know if you've heard of a singer named Mickey Guyton, but she's the next Carrie Underwood. She's she's a black female country singer, pretty much the first.
Okay.
And she hosted the CMA Awards along with what's the guy who's married to Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. And I like to thank all the songwriters who contributed to my album. I'm like, I didn't contribute to her. I would like to, but what? And then I said, well, so I looked at her album's contents, all the titles. I'm like, I didn't write any of these songs. But then I looked at the credits. I saw my name alongside of a title I didn't recognize.
Yeah. So
I went to YouTube and played the song. Sure enough,
it's your
melody.
Wow.
It was the melody to "We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off." Da, 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 da,
yeah.
da, da. It's your love takes me higher. So she gave me credit and worked out with my publisher. I found out details later. So all of a sudden, just by having a good melody, I'm going to have a song on a platinum album. Isn't that something?
That could have been, that melody could have been an old Motown melody.
Exactly. You know, it's funny. She could have gotten away with never having I would have never heard that song. Or I'm not. I like.
God bless her. She's honest.
She sure is. I like country, but I'm not, following everything on it. But when I saw that, it was like a gift. Like, what?
Wow, man.
But that just shows you the power of a good melody.
I'm going to get back to the subject of my movement. Is like, because I want to throw concerts, social conscious music concerts where I find great writers from everywhere that write this kind of music. And like you said, you didn't write as many social conscious songs as love songs, right? I'm trying to lift the level. If there's 347 million love songs and there's only 71 million social conscious songs, we need to raise the level up. Not only that, as you can see, those songs from Marvin and John Lennon, they helped stop the war. It was the young people that stopped the war, right? And we need to do songs right now that bring the levels down on racism, right? I'm trying to do that. Peace is the answer. We got to bring the levels down on racism and other things, social things that you can bring them. But if you don't have the music out there, music is the #1 language in the world. If we punch enough music out there that's going, hey, life ain't all bad. You know what I mean? It ain't all bad. You watch the news, you come on watch the, it's all bad, right? It's time to give people some good news because people are tired of bad news.
They want to hear more positive news. And I think that's where the music, really plays an important role in the world as a whole, because people do want to hear more positive things. And I think with the music festival, Skyler, I think, again, they will have a profound effect across the world. I mean, when you look at like Live Aid, and there was no anger or animosity, it was just peace and love. And people wanted to donate and they wanted to support all of the war-torn countries. And everyone came together. And I think there's a lot more of that to come with Music for Global Change festivals and the work that you're doing and amazing work. Also, Preston's doing as well with his lyrics and everybody else that's doing this social conscious music. And there's a lot more positive things to come, I think, within the music industry in the future, most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Ken Cragen, the whole crew, Lionel, Michael, all of them, 9 years ago. Now that song came out in the late 80s. We Are the World.
Mm-hmm. I love that. We Are the Children.
And that's like you said, Preston, that was target marketing, right? You was marketing for it to be a song to help people with AIDS, whatever, right? Yeah. Anyway, 9 years ago, that song still made $32 million a year. And it came out in the 80s. So you can imagine what it made in the 80s.
Imagine how many people that could help, Skyler, as well, in third world countries.
You bring awareness through music, right? And if I can get young people, and I have, I might talk to 300 kids and 25 of them will call me, hey, Skyler. And it's just something about the way, hey, I already know they wrote a social conscious song. And so what I like to do is go out and speak to the young people and then go do a concert the next day, because social conscious music doesn't sound exciting right over your head, right? But when they see my videos and they see my music, oh yeah, I get it. I say, well, I challenge you. If there was something that you can change in the world, what would that be? Yes. And go write a song about it. Hit me back.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I remember Woodstock back in the day, you know, my age, but that was one of the first festivals where, when you think about the possible ways that could have went wrong,
yeah,
it's scary, but it went right because you had the right mix of artists, right? You had every kind of people showing up to this farmland out in the middle of nowhere. And it really, to this day, is looked at as one of the historic festivals, you know, Sly and the Family Stone, Richie Havens, Jimi Hendrix.
Everybody, Country Joe and the Fish. I mean, you know, the trippy thing, what I loved about that is that was the Vietnam time and it was young people, right? So right. The acts would do some of their songs, but they would always do a song about stopping the war or peace.
Right. That's right.
And that brought the levels down. That the young people start talking about how can we achieve peace. And you know what I mean? They shamed old people that was into that stuff. But there's a lot of songs like that, but we need to write more. And so, Preston, if you got artists that are planning to write social conscious song, I'm just trying to, I like to gather as many new songs and new artists together so that I can, you know, probably get a promoter to get it and say, let's start putting this stuff on stage. You know, because at my concerts, you ain't gonna need no security. People coming to hold on to each other and dance with each other and eat and soak in some consciousness, right?
I'm gonna send you a link to a show that's happening tomorrow, and it will be archived too for your time frame. But it's an artist named Terrell Edwards that's doing 11 song set. The first song that's released now is called 100%, and it's talking about giving your all to help others.
Yes, yes.
And we're gonna, I'll give you the link so people can watch the stream of the actual event. And if they're not able to do it because of time, it's 8 o'clock here. So that's
right.
But it's archived, so you'll be able to look at it.
And like, you know, if you other artists that you're doing, they plan to do some. So I just got to get a network of a bunch of songs.
And Skyler, our songwriting competition that we're doing as well. Preston knows of anybody. We are actually, Preston, doing a you know, social conscious music songwriting competition and asking people to enter all over the world, adults and children. And the winner does actually get to perform live on our show, and also at the very first music festival, they will have the opportunity to perform there as well, won't they, Skyler?
Yes, and like I said, I want to do like a weekend thing of eight bands, so 4 each night, right? And just come up with some just outstanding talent, and then we need to grow that. Yes. The Music for Global Change festivals, the good news festivals, basically, right? Because if I'm looking at the way Michael Franti did it, I mean, this dude is huge. He's just so huge, man, and nobody. He's not mainstream. right? But he writes kind of happy music, and these people come out, they have a great time. He pulls off about 40 grand a pop for 2-hour show, and nobody knows him like everybody else, right? But if we get enough of those coming out like that, and I'm thinking somebody hired him, right? Or wherever he's playing at, those promoters, they promote that kind of music. It's just not, we need to make it come mainstream. And that, like I said, in this political thing we going into, we need to bring the temperature down on everything, right?
Right.
Love is love,
not color. Preston as well, if you would be interested, wouldn't we, Skyler?
Yeah, I mean, to me, love is love. It's not a color, right?
Yes.
Both of my grandparents are interracial couples, and I'm talking about early 1900s when they couldn't be seen together, right? And so don't tell, racism is the most stupid thing in the world to me, because they always taught me treat other people like just red.
Yes.
With kindness, like you said, right?
Love's Not a Color is a great title for not only a song, but a show.
Yes.
Love's Not a Color. And maybe you can you can use that as a platform to reach, we got all these platforms now, make it a worldwide event.
Yeah.
And everybody tune in.
There are more people that want to get along than people that don't.
There is, and at the end of the day,
we just we desire to inspire that, right?
Yes.
And that's happening right now. You know what I mean? Like, I would say, Obama and I are the same. There's only 8 million people. There's 8 million people like Obama and myself. That's mixed, but one of them was the president. Okay, so you can't tell me white, black can't get
right. What was that? You just said something. I'm gonna steal it for the opening line of a lyric. You said there are more
desire to inspire.
Well, and you said there are more people that want to get along
than people that don't.
That's good. That's a good first opening line to the song, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna write it, but I'll give you a piece of it.
Thank you, brother. That I like to talk about one thing that changed my life, and it was Oprah Winfrey, and she said something really, really profound. It was on her last show after 25 years of asking questions to people. Somebody in the audience says, "Okay, what did you learn, Oprah, from all the questions that you asked in 25 years?" She said 3 things. I've learned everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants to be heard, and everybody wants to be felt. That's the human spirit right there, right?
Right. Well, I've been having a great time with y'all. I appreciate you having me on today.
Namaste, brother.
I have to sign off now, but appreciate all your work that you're doing, all of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all that you do as well. You're
love to Gina.
Gentleman as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you, brother. Bye-bye.